Ever feel like you're speaking a different language with these AI tools? Like you're missing some secret code? I know I've been there. Once I was trying to get ChatGPT to help me come up with a tagline, a simple tagline, for this new invention I was tinkering with. And it gives me back this, I kid you not, something that sounded like a Shakespearean sonnet. Totally missed the mark. And it got me thinking, are we really speaking AI's language? Turns out there's an art to talking to AI. It's called prompting. And it is so important if you want to unlock the true power of these tools. I mean, think about it. It's like the difference between like walking into a restaurant and just saying coffee versus ordering that perfect triple shot sugar-free vanilla latte with oat milk. And today, we're going to help you become a pro at crafting those AI orders, those prompts, so you get exactly what you want every time. Ready to dive in? Today, we're taking a deep dive into a guide that's all about this. It's called Texto Pegado, which, for those of us who don't speak Spanish, translates to paste to text.
And while the name might sound a little, well, simple, the insights inside are anything but. You see, we tend to forget that AI, for all its power, doesn't actually think like humans do.
That's so true. I mean, it seems like they think like us, and then they'll just spit out something totally off the wall.
Precisely. AI thrives on clear, specific instructions.
Kind of like giving someone directions, right? Like you would just hand them a map and say, get me to your favorite restaurant.
Okay.
You'd give them the address, tell them which roads to take, maybe even some extra details like take the scenic route or let's do takeout tonight.
What's fascinating is that even just a subtle shift in thinking can make all the difference. We need to start viewing AI less as a conversation partner, although it can feel that way sometimes, right? And more as a powerful tool.
Okay, I like that. So Texto Pegado actually breaks down this art of crafting what they call killer prompts into four qualities, four kind of essential qualities: clarity, context, detail, and then being specific about the format and style that you're after. Let's unpack these a little bit, starting with clarity. Seems kind of obvious, right? Be clear. But this is where a lot of people, they trip up. The guide really emphasizes using language that leaves absolutely no room for interpretation.
Think of it this way. AI has this massive, massive amount of information at its disposal. Clarity is what helps it to pinpoint exactly what's relevant to you at that moment.
So instead of like a general question like, what do you think about technology? A clearer prompt would be, I'm trying to think of a good example. Oh, what are the main pros and cons of using AI in education? Something like that.
Much, much better. Now you're giving the AI something really concrete to work with. It knows you're focused on AI and specifically its use in education.
It's like we're shining a flashlight on exactly the information we need instead of like aimlessly waving it around in the dark.
Next up is context. And this one clicked for me because I've been guilty of this myself. Imagine like asking for restaurant recommendations, but you don't tell them what kind of food you're craving or what your budget is or even where you are.
You probably end up with a pretty random assortment of places and nothing that you're actually looking for.
Exactly. And it's the same with AI. Texto Pagado uses this example of, say, you're writing about sustainable business practices, right? Instead of a vague prompt like, how can companies be more sustainable? Which is a perfectly valid question, but it's very broad, you could ask. You could say something like, how could a textile company in Latin America implement sustainable practices using green technology while still considering their production costs and not, breaking the bank?
Yes, exactly. Suddenly, it's not just about sustainability in a vacuum. We've given the AI a specific industry, a specific location, and even factored in the very real concern of cost.
And that's how you start to guide the AI towards more practical and relevant solutions.
It's like we're giving the AI a mental treasure map instead of just saying, hey, go find some treasure somewhere.
Precisely. And speaking of treasure, Texto Pagado reminds us that providing more detail almost always equals richer, more valuable results.
It's like the more information we put in on the front end, the more gold we get out on the other side.
They actually give this great example using storytelling. So imagine giving a prompt like, write a story.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you're practically begging for something like generic and predictable, right?
Right.
But check out what happens when you get more specific.
Okay, let's hear it.
The guide suggests something like, write a short story for children between 5 and 7 years old about the importance of sharing, where the main characters are all forest animals and the plot includes a lesson at the end.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from like a super vague request to a pretty detailed, like creative brief. We've specified the audience, the theme, even how we want the story structured.
Exactly. Now the AI has everything it needs to craft something that's both engaging and age appropriate.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've given the AI clarity, we've given it context, and we've given it detail. What's the final element of an awesome prompt?
This is where we really get to become like directors of our own little AI production crews.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah. It's about being specific about the format and the style of the information that we want to get back.
So instead of saying, like, write about third quarter sales goals, we could say,
You could say something like, draft a formal email to the head of sales requesting a meeting to discuss third quarter goals.
ooh, okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
We're not just asking for the information. We're telling the AI exactly how to present that information.
Right. Do you need a bulleted list?
Mm.
A poem? A script for a play? I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
This is blowing my mind. I feel like we've graduated from, like, prompt users to, like, prompt engineers.
And we're just getting started. Texto Pagado goes on to outline some, like, next-level prompting strategies that really take things up a notch.
Okay, I'm all ears. What secrets does the guide reveal next?
Well, the first one that really resonated with me is this idea of embracing iteration. Don't be afraid to kind of, like, tweak and refine your prompts until you get that perfect response.
So it's more of a conversation then, than a one-way street.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder that as amazing as AI is, it's still under development. We need to be patient, offer feedback, and kind of work with these tools to really unlock their full potential.
That makes a lot of sense. And it kind of ties into the next strategy, which is to use natural language.
Yes. Talk to AI like you'd talk to a person. There's no need to like overthink it or get bogged down in all that technical jargon.
It's about making the AI feel like part of the team, right?
In a way, yes. The guide even suggests thinking of it like you're having this back and forth with like a human expert.
And speaking of back and forth, that reminds me of the guide's point about asking follow-up questions.
Yes, don't be shy about asking for more detail or clarification. Texto Pagado gives this example where they ask the AI to kind of elaborate on a point, and a simple "tell me more" unlocked this goldmine of additional information.
It's like asking that one friend who always has a fascinating story to tell me more. You never know what gems you're going to unearth.
And that brings us to another really powerful strategy, which is strategically mixing open and closed questions.
Can you give me examples what that looks like in practice?
Texto Pagado uses the example of asking about, say, cells.
Okay.
A closed question, like what is a cell? That's going to get you a definition, right? But an open question, something like how do the different parts of a cell interact to keep it functioning? That invites a more kind of nuanced and insightful explanation.
So it's about being intentional with the types of questions that we ask to get the specific information that we need at that moment.
Exactly. It's all about strategy.
It's like having a whole toolkit of question types at our disposal, and we get to choose which one is right for this job.
Exactly.
Okay. So what other advanced prompting strategies does Texto Pagado have up its sleeve?
Well, they talk about this idea of breaking down those like super complex questions, the ones that make your head spin a little
Oh, yeah.
into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, for sure. So instead of overwhelming the AI with something like, how do I improve my home's energy efficiency and reduce my overall energy costs? Which, let's be real, is something I think a lot of us would love to know. And you could try like a two-pronged approach, right?
Okay, so break it down for the AI a little bit.
Exactly. Start by just asking about energy efficiency in the home. Once you've got some solid info there, then you can move on to asking about cost-saving strategies.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like we're guiding the AI step by step, making it easier for it to process the information and give us the best possible answers.
Precisely. And kind of on that note of guiding the AI, the guide also highlights the power of requesting specific examples or comparisons.
Ooh, I like this one. So instead of just getting those dry definitions, we're asking the AI to show us what it means to make it real.
Exactly. Let's say you want to understand the difference between, I don't know, two different approaches to problem solving, right?
Okay, yeah.
Instead of getting bogged down in all the technical jargon, which, let's be honest, nobody really likes,
Right.
you could ask for some real-world examples of each approach in action.
That is so much more helpful than me just sitting there, like, trying to decipher these definitions on my own. I'm a very visual learner, so this strategy really speaks to me.
Me too. And then finally, Texto Pagado reminds us that, it's okay to kind of set some boundaries with our AI.
You mean like tell it what we don't want to see?
Exactly. They use this example of like asking about, say, new marketing trends, but then specifically telling the AI, do not include social media.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's about like narrowing the scope a little bit and keeping the AI laser focused on the information that we're really after.
Precisely. It all comes back to being as specific and intentional as possible with our prompts.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here today, but before we wrap up, Texture Pagado throws in this little bonus section about like common prompting pitfalls to avoid things that even like seasoned AI users can still fall into,
It's always good to have a little reminder about what not to do.
for sure.
Oh.
So what are some of these common traps?
Well, the first one won't come as a surprise. It's vagueness. We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. Guilty as charged.
But the good news is it's one of the easiest pitfalls to fix. The more specific we can be with our language, the better our results are going to be.
Makes sense. What about the, like, flip side of that coin? Are there times when we can be too specific, too?
Definitely. The guide talks about the danger of complexity or trying to, like, cram way too much into a single prompt.
It's like that old saying, if you chase two rabbits, you'll catch neither one.
Exactly. And it's so tempting, right, to try to get the AI to do all the heavy lifting at once.
Right.
But we often end up with much better results when we break those complex ideas down into smaller, more, bite-sized chunks that the AI can really get its teeth into.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot between being specific but not overwhelming the AI.
Right. And then finally, Texto Pagado reminds us that, at the end of the day, this is a two-way conversation. Don't be afraid to follow up, ask for clarification, or even, gently nudge the AI in a different direction if you need to.
It's like we're partners in this whole quest for knowledge.
Exactly.
It's not just us giving orders and the AI blindly following along. So as we wrap things up here, I think the biggest takeaway is that, like, crafting effective AI prompts, it's not just some, like, niche skill for tech wizards. It's a total game changer. It's like having the keys to unlock this whole new world of knowledge and creativity.
And the best part is, it's a skill that anyone can learn. With a little bit of practice and the right guidance, anyone can have those amazing AI conversations.
And Texto Pagado is definitely a great place to start. But we want to hear from you, too. What are some of your biggest AI prompting wins? Or even those hilarious fails that make you wonder, like, how on earth did the AI come up with that? Share your stories with us on social media. We love to hear from you. And until next time, happy prompting.